Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, lifelong resident of Grand Rapids in Western Michigan. Attended Michigan State University on a football scholarship and later went on to play 7 years in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons and Pittsburgh Steelers. Spent the better part of my childhood in Belding up through fourth grade. Had a great time there. Lived near a river. Spent the better part of my days chasing critters in the river or the pond and building forts and riding bikes. Some critical formative years, and really enjoyed my time there. My dad took a job transfer when I was in fourth grade, and we moved to Howell, Michigan for a three-year period. My family ran into some financial difficulty during that time, and that's kind of when things got a little more difficult in our family, some stress in my parents' marriage, and through the difficult times at home, sports was an escape for me. So football began in 8th grade for me. Played freshman football as a freshman, played quarterback part of the year, played tight end the second half of the year, and kind of stuck to tight end the rest of my way. And coincidentally, the rest of my career really through college and pro, but which doesn't often happen as you talk to guys that have played that long. Sometimes they change positions, but I stuck with tight end. Started getting some interest from colleges after my junior year. Got recruited by a number of schools. Had kind of always grown up a Michigan State fan, although I remember sitting in Bo Schembechler's office on my visit at the University of Michigan and being pretty impressed and having Bo put his arm around me and telling me I owed it to myself to be a Michigan man. So and ultimately chose to accept a scholarship at Michigan State University under Coach George Perlis, who would turn out to have a major impact in my life. After that junior year, I remember Coach Perlis coming up to me in the football building at Michigan State and just indicating to me that if I kept playing the way I was, that I'd have a chance to play on Sundays, which I knew meant I would at least get a crack at pro football, which that's when it kind of hit me that, hey, man, this is real. I could really accomplish a dream I've had since a little kid. So had a good senior year. Was able to go to the Senior Bowl All-Star game in Mobile, Alabama, which was basically a week-long job interview with NFL scouts, and was coached by Bill Belichick of the Cleveland Browns at the time, well before his New England Patriot days. And coincidentally, Nick Saban was the defensive coordinator on that team. So two of the all-time coaching greats, I had an opportunity to be, at least for a week anyway, to play under. So that's kind of neat looking back on it. Ultimately was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. They selected me with a 151st pick in the 6th round. My claim to fame was I was drafted ahead of the Heisman Trophy winner that year. I always tell my kids that, hey, I was drafted ahead of the Heisman Trophy winner, Gino Torretta from Miami, in case you're wondering. It was a situation going to Atlanta where they had used an offense called the run and shoot, which didn't utilize a tight end a lot. And the coach at the time, Jerry Glanville, desired to incorporate a tight end more into their offensive philosophy. So it was a good situation when I went there. I was the only tight end on the roster, and I had an opportunity to play quite a bit that first season. Caught 8 or 9 balls, I think, my rookie year, but got a chance to play a lot, and they were was doing a good job blocking, and so that was good. And until Jerry Glanville got fired at the end of that year, and June Jones took over. And June's a great guy, I respect him as a man, but June is a straight run and shoot guy and does not like to use tight end a lot. So for the next 3 years, June would tell me every year, hey, I know you're a little frustrated with your playing time, but trust me, this is going to extend your career. It's going to save you from injury, and I know we can trust you when we put you in there. So kind of bit my lip and was happy to be in the league, but there wasn't a lot of upside to being a run and shoot tight end. So fast forward 3 years, and June Jones gets fired, and the new coach coming in is Dan Reeves, and he's bringing a couple tight ends with him from New York Giants, where he had been previously. So Mitch Lyons was kind of on the outside looking in to the NFL. Atlanta wasn't going to sign me back, and there wasn't a lot of people knocking on the door at that time. At that time, I was going through a difficult time. My second son had a heart issue that we discovered while in utero, and so right around the time I didn't have a job, I also had a baby on the way that had a heart defect. So that was a stressful time, but fortunately Pittsburgh Steelers came calling. I signed with Pittsburgh, and they were very accommodating when my son was born. Enjoyed my time in Pittsburgh, absolutely. Would have loved to have spent my entire career there. Great city, great fans. Ever since I came into the league, I always just, I knew it wouldn't last forever, and I knew that, an injury can happen at any moment. And so I always planned on every year being my last, knowing that I eventually would be right. And as fate would have it, 1999 I was right, because playing a game late in the year out in Kansas City, played that whole game against future Hall of Famer Derek Thomas of the Kansas City Chiefs. Played well, blocked well, caught a couple passes, and then on a last-minute kickoff late in the game, kind of meaningless kickoff, picked up a ball that was squib kicked to me, and I was running up the field, and I've done that probably 15, 20 times in my career between college and pro, and always took about 5, 6 steps, and then would hit the ground or get tackled. And for whatever reason, in this particular time, I saw a little sunlight to my left, daylight, and tried to get there, and never saw a guy coming, and he just hit me right straight on the side of my knee. And in a flash, I knew my career was over. Intense pain. I knew exactly what had happened. That it was severe. It's kind of a surreal moment as you're laying on the grass, laying there, and knowing it's over just like that. So that was the end of the line to the Mitch Lyons football career. I didn't necessarily have a concrete plan B of what came next in my life. I was introduced to financial services really from a contact at Michigan State. An alum that I'd met at a golf outing asked me if I'd ever given any thought. For me, it was something that I saw as being able to help people, but also on my competitive side, I never wanted to be in a position where I just had to punch a clock and go to work and do the same thing every day and get paid a salary. I wanted to do something where I could dictate, I could get paid by how well the job I do and how hard I worked. So that was the initial attraction to me. For me, it's more, how can I help people, keep them away from financial difficulty and the stresses of the stock market and the job market, and help them build a nest egg that they can protect and rely on for their future retirement. So I had alluded to earlier that we'd had some financial difficulty in my family, and that did impact me. It created a lot of insecurity on my part. That still drives me today, because I want to help people, and I want to help people and their couples and their children not experience that. It's the same reason I coach and I mentor kids. I want them to be strong and independent, but everybody's born with the same opportunity in terms of, if you work hard enough, you can get there. And we've all seen the stories of rags to riches, and I kind of in some respects I consider myself one of those stories. So my mission is really a 4-step process that involves helping people identify where they are currently, and oftentimes they're not really sure where they are. So we really put a laser on their current situation, and then we try to fortify or bring certainty to what's in place and protect against any unforeseen elements, whether it's crazy markets that you really can't control, or whether it's health situations. And so we try to buttress that and bring stability to their financial portfolio. Beyond that, we try to help them accelerate. And what I mean by that is create as much retirement income for them as we possibly can, while at the same time protecting against market downturns. And also accelerate to get them where they can retire, but then even beyond that, provide retirement income increases while in retirement. So after we've worked through the 3 steps of identifying, fortifying, and accelerating, really that culminates in providing a retirement of steel. And what retirement of steel means to me, is much like I provided for a lot of my clients, is that stability to know that come hell or high water, or bad markets, bad health, death to a spouse, that paycheck will be there every month for them, and they can count on it, and it's never in question. You can have an awful market due to a pandemic or a financial recession, but that check is still there every month. And I think of one of my clients that lost her husband, and she came to me during this pandemic, and she just thanked me for just providing that certainty to her that you haven't lost a cent through the course of this pandemic, and that paycheck is still in her mailbox or in her bank account every single month, and she knows she can count on that. And she goes to bed at night knowing that she's safe. And I made a vow to her husband before he passed, and I feel good knowing that that's never going to change for her. She's lock solid. She has a retirement of steel that she can count on. So by working through that proprietary process of identifying, fortifying, accelerating, and providing a retirement of steel, I know that my clients are well accounted for, well taken care of. And that's really what that gets me up every day, knowing that I have an opportunity to work with people and help them through these steps and bring them that peace of mind that, again, going back to my childhood, we didn't always have. And if I can provide that for families, that is the driving force to make me do what I do.